I love the art.
I love that. Whatever that is.
One,
yeah.
With the snake going through as he sits on like this icy kind of like rock throne. Cobra Sun does. The cover for 6 is just fantastic. We get a flashback then to this is the night that Yua died then in the ring.
Okay.
And like it's Uncle Blood there and Cobra Sun or her dad, and Uncle Blood says, all right, she's asleep. And he's like, all right, thank goodness. Like, Blood, I tell you, like, I got to thank you for everything. And he slaps him and he's like, what happened? He's like, I'm telling you, I've done that move hundreds of times. He's like, you don't know. He's like, look at you. You're so small without that mask. What are you even? And he like slams the door and leaves. Obviously, he's upset. A brother who just lost his sister.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And he's just taking it out on the wrong person is what it is.
He is.
But it's unfortunate because this dude, I mean, shit.
Our issue continues as we get some backstory. And there's some awesome action here. But we see that Cobra Sun is fighting for another promotion. And there he notices, as you see at the bottom, a woman in the front row watching, which turns out to be Yua. Yeah. See, she's like, hey, it's kind of cute. Like as she's just sitting there.
Yeah, sure.
We find out that Yua works for the Tokyo promotion where we started that match that she had. And that they had sent her out to kind of be an agent scout too, to like find new talent to bring back over there too.
Yeah.
And so she was watching his match, and like, even though he's been wrestling for 2 years, like he does pretty well, but she's like brutally honest with him. Like, you could change this, this, and this. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, thanks. Like, you are brutally honest. And she goes, that's one of the things you're going to learn to love about me. Like, it's kind of this cute little, like, even from the beginning, like,
yeah,
their relationship kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And then we get flashbacks. So we cut between the flashbacks from that, of what's going on in his past to what's going on currently. And so like Lona is still out and they're like strapping her down on a gurney as Cobra Sun is like very concerned, about Lona there. Frank and Maggie are fighting in the ring, and like Maggie gets thrown out and crashes into Cobra Sun.
They're just fighting around all this.
Yes, because they're fighting to the death to see whose kid they're going to bring back.
Yeah.
And Maggie crashes to the outside and crashes into Cobra Sun. And Frank goes to like dive to jump on her. And Cobra Sun's like, no, this is enough. And like catches him in the air. And Frank's like, no. And he just like drops him down, like kind of like a tombstone.
Yeah.
But it's directly like neck down, like, you
Gotcha.
know, on him. And he's like, you've hurt our family enough. And like, you know, and he leaves him there. And Cobra Sun kind of goes back up with Lona to address like how she's not feeling well, she's hurting.
Yeah, sure.
We see Maggie then stand over Frank as he's like trying to like get himself back up, and he's reaching over for a bat with barbed wire as Maggie has the title in her hand, and she's like, to the death, Frank, you were a great tag team partner. And she like goes to like swing like the title down, and he's like, and so are you, Maggie. As the barbed wire he's pulled off the bat, he kind of wraps around her throat, and the two of them are just like going at each other.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have it. There you go. See, he catches them and plants them. But so while they're back there and Cobra Sun is staying with Lona, and he's like, I'm sorry. She's like, Dad, why didn't you like tell me? And he's like, I what? And she's like, you heard me. Like, your mom, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't let you see who I really was. And she goes, but I know who you are. You're my dad. And about that time, Necron kicks in the door, and he's like, all right, Lona, can you walk? And Lona's like, and he's like, good. I need you both out in the ring now. And Cobra Sun's like, but we lost. And he's like, yeah, do you think I'm an idiot? But my current champions just killed themselves, and we can't close the night. We can't close the night without a champion.
So they killed each other.
They fought each other to the death.
Both of them are dead.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't work out.
No, and so they go back out there, and they accept the titles, and they're like, and Lona's like, so does this mean that I get my mom back, Necron? And he's like, after this, we go to the Resurrection Chamber. Sure, just take these titles. Like, come on. Like, he's like, if we don't have champions, no one will buy tickets to the next tournament. Sure. So they have this nice moment where they both take the titles and they collapse down in the ring there. And he's like, all right, thank you all for coming tonight. And so he then takes them up to the chamber, and he's like, all right, let me go get all my ducks in a row, and then we'll do this.
Let me go get all my
my necromancing ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And while they're sitting there, like there's this nice moment between the two of them of where, Lona says, like, when I saw it was you under the mask, like I was relieved. And he was like, her dad's like relieved. And she goes, all of that time you were trying to stop me from wrestling. I thought it was because of what happened to Mom. I always thought you didn't think I had what it took to be like her. And he's like, and she goes, now I know. And he's like, I know you had talent. I just couldn't bring myself to help you grow in that after what happened. And so it's a nice moment of then, like, she realizes, like, okay, like, I kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah. It was protection. It wasn't
but then,
lack of
exactly.
But believing in her or anything.
Lona also brings up, but you talked about, because there is a moment, again, we don't cover everything in detail, where he tells her, like, how to get through a death match of, like, you got to take that pain and you got to push it down. You can't let it out.
Sure.
And Lona tells him, like, your advice there before that, like, I think that's what you've been doing. And I don't think that's good for you either. Like, you pushing it all down. Like, I think, like, you're obviously, like, beating yourself up. Like, this isn't how you deal with it. Like, you have to accept some of this and, like, come to terms with those feelings and things like that. Like, what happened.
Like when go to a space wrestling ring and work it out there.
Yeah, Lona, she goes, like, when you hit it away, like, we barely talked. Like, we lost so much time.
Yeah, sure.
Like, they're having this nice little moment there. And she goes, I don't think Mom would have wanted you to feel guilty. Like, she knew the risk. And she tells him, like, it's time that you let it out. You can't keep, like, pushing it down, like, punishing yourself for it.
Yeah.
And her dad tells him, like, I know that you're right, Lona. I just don't know how to do it. Like, I get what you're saying. Right. And she goes, well, I don't either, but we can move forward together. And, like, they have this nice, like, I love you, Dad. I love you, kiddo moment. And Necron comes back in, and eventually he's like, all right, guys, follow me. And so they start going up these stairs, and they're like, where are we going? And he goes, well, I thought this might happen. You see, I told you that they banished me here, and I'm not as powerful as I once was. Like, some of my necromancy powers.
This guy sucks.
He's like, I thought they would be good to go this year. They're not really. And so Cobra Sun kind of gets upset. And he's like,
I bet he does.
He's
like,
the
only reason you're here.
He's like, what do you mean? And he, like, kind of turns on him. You lied to us. And that's where Necron kind of goes, have you forgot who I am? And he, like, grows himself really big. And he goes, wow. I may be an entertainer now, but I've, like, crushed millions of souls to just dust compared to you.
He's
like,
a big old dude.
He's like, I might not have the power to bring anybody back from the dead, but I can definitely still have the power to send people to it. And then he, like, comes back down. And he's like, now that we have that finished, and, like, just a very much, like, straight and tie moment, he goes, alternate arrangements have been made. And Cobra Sun's like, what do you mean alternate arrangements? Another necromancer? Like, because Necron says, you said that, or I found somebody who said that they're willing to fight you in a 2-on-1 handicap match. And if you beat them, then they're willing to raise your mother with just a snap of their fingers.
So now you got to do another one.
So Cobra Sun goes, another necromancer? And Necron goes, not exactly. Think higher. And he goes, you're going to wrestle God.
Yeah.
As they boom and, like, shoot up into the sky. And Lona's like, what? And Necron goes, I told you, they're a huge wrestling fan. Like, that's apparently in this, God's a massive wrestling fan. And so it's intercut in with
a couple things here have happened. Number one, the existence of God.
I love it.
And number two, gotta wrestle the dude.
Yeah.
Yikes.
No, I'm telling you, oddly enough, this felt perfect for
really.
This. To me, it does. Like, I love this. So we'll get through it.
Yeah.
It's intercut then, like, Cobra Sun in the future, like, running through, like, the hospital, and he's got his mask on in its bag, and it turns out to be, like, him running to Lona's birth.
Right.
Trying to get there from a match.
Okay.
And, like, he was like, oh, you forgot to take, your mask. He's like, and he, like, takes the mask off, and it's the nice first moment of him and his daughter there. Cut in with Necron explaining to him, like, so this is it. Like, maybe you two have what it takes to finally bring down the best wrestler of all time. One last battle to get your mom back.
God is the best wrestler
It does,
of all
and it
time.
shows up, and it's like, Sun and Steel, I have watched the entirety of the Death Life tournament. You're most impressive. Like, you're welcome to come battle me for this. And that's kind of where it ends for issue 6.
God has everything to choose from, but he chooses that. it's.
How are you going to draw them?
I don't know.
I think it's like he fits like an old.
Yeah.
Well, you think wrestling.
Yeah.
So it fits kind of like the old, what you would think at the dawn of wrestling, like the old Roman kind of like style in a way, but also very. I don't know. I loved it. I love how the crowd is chanting God back there in pink letters too. Yeah. It does look like potentially maybe Jesus might be the ref.
I think Jesus is the ref.
Again, I know it's ridiculous, but just
hey,
hear it out.
We're already here. We're good.
Just hear it out. Give it till issue 7, and see how it all closes. But that there is issue 6 of To Do a Powerbomb.
That was cool.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.